my friends. I wanted to make a video on some specific things that I am thinking of now, and I'm going to try my best to articulate a very particular pattern that I am very sensitive to, and I kind of, on one hand, I'm curious who else exists that is also sensitive to this particular issue, pattern, matter, because it's not an issue for everyone. But for me, I'm extremely sensitive to language, and a lot of the time I feel like I can't connect fully or deeply with people who speak in very general terms and who, you know, I feel like there are certain cultural narratives and things. By the way, I'm on my way home from the ophthalmologist with Butter, and her eyes are doing amazing, and she's just being an angel princess queen in the back seat, and I had to share that with you. Anyway, there are certain narratives narratives that are, I feel, regurgitated everywhere in society and culture. And I think that people mean well when they say certain things, but I think that the intention and the vulnerability and the unique experience tied to the choice of words that these people are using is often indetectable because people speak fluff a lot of the time. People speak, fluffy, cool, good words a lot of the time, but I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in feeling them and connecting them and understanding what it is about their internal universe and their personal experience that is inspiring them to run this dialogue, to repeat this narrative. And that is a generalized share about a pattern that I encounter very frequently with people. And specifically the language that I feel slightly allergic to is one of them is the word negativity and negative emotions. And just in conversations, especially conversations that I read on social media or listen to in YouTube videos, and sometimes even hear in certain circles, conversations that throw around the terminology negative emotions, it ticks me off, because what happens in me again is when people refer to something as a negative emotion, my mind goes to first understanding that, okay, this person perceives an aspect of nature, aka emotional experiences, as a bad thing, and negativity and badness implies that someone feels an aversion to the things that they label as negative or bad. And what happens when we resist nature? It persists. It doesn't change anything. Even if we don't like something, even if we are averted to something that occurs in reality, in nature, there is absolutely no denying that it exists. And also, that attitude and the energy that the language of labeling an emotion as negative, in my experience, creates, I'm tripping on my words a little bit, and sometimes I get lost in my own sentences as I'm speaking them out loud, but what that language, what the experience and the feeling that language creates in me is one of resistance to the present moment and a lack of presence. And that is to language and my appreciation for, you know, articulation and writing and verbiage, and this is something, you know, communication, and particularly like articulation is something that I heavily value, and I am just particularly sensitive to it, and not everyone is, and maybe this will resonate with people. Maybe people will hear this and think, I feel that, even though I've never expressed it or said it or heard it said before. It's something I feel because I can't be the only one, and you know, I'm sharing this because it's authentic for me, and I'm also curious, you know, who else experiences this, and I want to share. Like I love putting my own, you know, my own stories and my version of reality and my experience out into the public online, because I know that I know how helped I have been and how comforted I have felt and how connected I felt, you know, hearing other people share their experiences on things that I connect deeply to. So that's my intention here, and I'm not by any means, I just want to say, even though, you know, I don't think I've done anything to prove otherwise, but I don't care to change anyone's mind or, you know, make anyone wrong, and you know, it's okay if you don't have this experience as well. It's fine. This is just my experience, and so I wanted to share it. Anyway, rambles. When people use language like, you know, negative emotions, again, it creates this experience for me of, you know, inability to be present with what's really there, because in my experience, I spend a lot of time feeling feelings, and I am a very curious, naturally playful, explorative, adventurous person. And anyone who knows me or has gotten to know me like any bit knows that I'm a gremlin, and when I feel safe, when I feel connected, when I feel present, and seen and respected and honored, my gremlin comes out, and it is the best thing in the universe when I find other people who can share this intuitive, almost telepathic, creative, soulful expression with me, because you know, I do really well with people who are not afraid of what society at large calls negative emotions, because they are just emotions. They're just another angle of what happens in nature. Like, animals don't go around and say, oh, that's a negative experience, you know, this cat is hunting a mouse and the mouse is in pain, and that's a bad thing, that's a negative thing. It's nature. It's uncomfortable, it is painful, it is a million different things that as soon as I feel the word negative or bad is projected onto it, I feel that creates a disconnect. And my whole spiel is about connection. It's about intimacy with reality, with nature, and that includes a lot of really, really painful, stark aspects of life that most people don't necessarily know how to be with or aren't necessarily comfortable with, you know, again, at large, like on a mainstream kind of level. So that's my first qualm. That's my first thing, my first experience, story, share, whatever. And my second thing, my second reaction to certain words is my reaction to learning lessons, and oh, this has something to teach you. Oh, what are you learning from this? What did you learn from this relationship? For some reason, that feels patronizing to me, and I know and I trust that in most cases it's not. However, it feels the way, what I hear and what I feel when I hear someone saying or talking about learning lessons. And what did you learn from this? I'm learning so much from this. You've taught me so much in this relationship. You're teaching me so much. Those are words that never truly resonated with me, and I never said them. Like, and I've even said to people before, like, I don't resonate with that language choice. And I don't think I really ask people much, like, what are you learning from this? Or what is this teaching you? Because it feels a little diminishing to me. And here's why. Let me try to explain why. So, I feel like the word learning, or just the language, the way that I've reacted to it before, ticks off a certain sensitivity that I have, and it's like it connects to this feeling of being seen in a way that is not authentic to how I feel, and I perceive that people see me in a way, or assume that there's something that I am like ignorant to, or that I don't know, or and not that it's a bad thing to be ignorant or to not know. I feel like I'm really struggling to say what I really feel with this, but I think I'll just go in a different direction and say that instead of focusing on the verbiage of just what are you learning from this, what is this person teaching you, I feel like I like the word choice better, of like what is being revealed to you in this moment, what is being revealed. Because again, this all comes back to my sensitivity to language and my care for articulation, and my just the way that I feel, the way that I emotionally experience words. Words are huge for me. Words of affirmation is my number one love language. It always has been. Words are so significant to me. And I think words carry when yielded, specifically and truthfully and with intention and articulation, words have the ability to bridge gaps between worlds and create connection. And I am, like everybody else, looking for connection, wanting to feel connection. And again, I don't mean to say that this is wrong for anybody else, or that I'm wrong. There's nothing here that I'm trying to imply about what is right and what is wrong. I do not feel that sentiment in my heart at all, that something is right or wrong here for other people. But for me, this is how I work, and I'm sure other people can relate. Maybe in their own ways, maybe not with the exact examples that I am sharing, but maybe in their own ways. Like, but again, what I'm trying to experience when I'm addressing reality with certain words is connection and presence and a deep acknowledgement of nature, and I don't know if I can necessarily clearly tell you why the verbiage of, what are you learning, what have you learned from this, ticks me off so much. I'm sure that there are examples that I can think of if I sit with it enough. I just can't think of really the reason why, but for some reason those words, I don't like them. So I think that's really the core of what I wanted to say, and I'll try to recap some of my main points. So I think it's really important for me and for other people who are similar to me to be able to connect with our own motivations and intentions and experiences behind the language that we use. Because, like I said, many people like to regurgitate and reuse certain narratives, certain language, and rightfully so, for a reason, because obviously those words are impactful in deep ways for many, many, many people, which is amazing. And, you know, we're all individuals, and not everyone experiences the same thing, so I'm really just hungry and curious to experience intimacy, and like, I want to understand where someone is coming from when they say a certain thing. Like, people, I notice one thing that happens with me that I also feel averted to, and it's like, sometimes in conversations or on dates or, you know, meeting a new friend, like, a lot of people like to ask, like, what are your beliefs? What do you believe? What's your philosophy? And first of all, I don't think I could ever respond to that question. It's just, that's something that shows, for me, that's something that's felt, and it's something that shows in the connection itself, in the way that we experience and interact with the world. And I find that, like, I really am not a black and white person. I don't like, I notice something about myself, and it's that I don't like to answer, oh, this is who I am, period. I do that in some ways, but in some ways, in many ways, the things that make me who I am, and the reasons and the sources of my identity, like the things that I can say out loud as something that I experience in life, and attach to that as something that solidifies my identity, those things are subject to change. There are certain things, like the fact that, you know, flesh and blood and bones and viscera is an unchanging fact of my experience. That's something that's pretty core and, you know, paramount and unchanging to my sense of identity. And then there are other things like likes and dislikes and preferences and tendencies and preconceptions and beliefs and ideas. All those things are amorphous. All of those things are subject to fluctuation and change. So I don't feel authentic to answer this question of what makes you you. What's your philosophy? What do you believe? I don't really resonate with that, you know, because it's like, I'm not trying to like erect a castle of this story of myself, of this idea of myself, and be like, this is who I am. Look how tall I am. Look how pretty I am. Look how strong my bricks are. Look at my strong foundations. You know what I mean? Like, an earthquake could happen, and then what? You know what I mean? And not that it's wrong. If you can tell, I really try to just address nuances of things. I like nuances. I like walking in between spaces. I like remaining open. I don't like gripping on too firmly to any ideas or any claims, you know what I mean? And sometimes I do. Sometimes I need that. There is good in benefit and service in all these things, all different angles. So, you know what? I could just go on forever. And this was fun. This felt like a mini podcast, just a brain ride podcast. Come with me through the roller coaster of through the zip line. It's not really a roller coaster. Maybe it is. Come with me on the road trip of my internal universe, internal landscape, because that's like what it is. It's like a road trip on a meandering road through shifting landscapes and, you know, etc. Taking the express lane. Yeah. So before I end this, I just want to kind of recap. I'm sensitive to language. Language is important to me. Language can bridge gaps in understanding of reality. And I don't believe that nature is negative. And maybe you agree with me, but maybe you like to use the same language that triggers me, which is fine. And that's you know, everyone is different. Everyone has different attachments, different preferences and sensitivities and whatever. Some people don't even care or think about this stuff, but I do, obviously, a lot. But yeah, at my core, my belief, my experience of reality is that, you know, I don't really feel a desire to push nature away. I feel a desire to connect with nature, to experience intimacy with nature, to the point where I seek out experiences that are painful, but also expansive. Like, for example, I was in a third world country recently, and I witnessed some rituals that involved scary, painful animal sacrifices. And for me, they were scary and painful, and for the animals, they were scary and painful. But for the people, it's an expression of nature, what nature looks like for them. And I even, to go deeper into this, I'm Jewish. I love Kabbalah. I love the perspectives that Kabbalah provides. And one thing that I love to talk about that Kabbalah emphasizes is how there's something called the evil inclination, and it exists in every human being. And the evil inclination in people where it's more I need to pause for a moment and appreciate how peaceful my cat is in the back. She's just a godsend and such a blessing. And I just noticed how, you know, she's always this way, but just her quietness in the car is just, it's miraculous, and I love her so much. But anyway, the evil inclination, it exists in different people in different amounts. And, you know, there are some people on earth who are they act in very evil ways, like murderers and people who rape people, and people who steal, and people who are, you know, who have no empathy on their brains, are more vulnerable to doing things that hurt and harm other people. And so in Kabbalah, when we understand this evil inclination, we recognize it as an energy that needs an outlet, and that if it is unacknowledged, unaddressed, or labeled as bad, you see what I'm saying? You see where my sensitivity comes from? Labeled as bad and ignored or judged. It's okay to judge. It's okay to judge. But it's not okay to, well, I wanted to say it's not okay to ignore or deny, but, you know, if someone isn't capable of addressing the depth of a situation, the depth of a reality, such as crime or abuse, then they're not the person to deal with that at that time, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I just see it as an imbalance. We need people in our world who are available where they're needed, where they're capable of being present. And not everyone who is involved in systems of in systems that address these deeper, darker psychological issues, not everyone involved in those things is actually meant for the job, or actually capable of being present in a way that creates harmony and creates balance, even in the darkness. You know what I mean? So anyway, Kabbalah acknowledges that the evil inclination, for example, if someone is a murderer, like, they should have outlets to express their evil inclination in ways that are allow them to express their nature, because we kill, we are animals, we are gross and disgusting and dark and scary, and we all have our dark sides. Some people in different ways than others, and that's not something to fear, it's something to harness, it's something to be curious about, even with evil people. It's a discussion that I don't really hear often. Anyway, you know, the example that I'm trying to illustrate with a murderer, like, I was listening to this podcast about the evil inclination from a Kabbalistic perspective. A pebble just hit my windshield. Nothing cracked. How a murderer should be given a job as a butcher, or like, a surgeon, like someone who's obsessed with viscera and who needs to feel the feeling of like whatever it is that the murder satisfies in them. Like I'm sorry if this is too graphic or intense for some people, but it's so important to me, and it's so important, I think, just in general, because like I keep saying over and over in different ways, we need to acknowledge nature. I value deeply, profoundly the capacity to be present with nature, with all aspects of nature. And I think that the more that I do that, the more my understanding deepens of why people do horrible things, and the prevention of harm can become more accessible and more understood through presence. So that's why this language of negative emotion or bad or don't cry really, really, really just fundamentally disagrees with me. It's like the way that I feel about that language and about that attitude is probably the way that my body would feel about eating cellulose. And if you don't get the reference, cellulose is like the cells in tree bark or something. They can't be broken down, they can't be digested. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't go through me. It doesn't resonate. It doesn't sit with me. I respond badly, uncomfortably to when people refer to emotions as negative. I have never agreed with it. I've never resonated with it. And this is just some insight on why. And yeah, and with the lessons thing, I think that's something I could get into another time, because my brain is not quite connected to my feeling around why I feel weird about that language, but it's similar, and there's a different story, different reason. Maybe I'll share it in another video, but yeah, that is pretty much what I want to share. Thank you for hanging out with me in this video and for watching the end. Please leave a comment if you resonate in any way. I really would love to connect with people who have anything that they want to contribute or share, especially if this is also something that you experience. I would love to hear about that too. It's not something I talk about a lot. It's not something I hear about a lot, so I'm opening it up now. I will see you next time. Sending lots of love. And if you resonated with this by chance and you want to work with me personally and you want some support, intuitive support, I offer psychic and intuitive readings. If that's something that sounds appealing to you or that could be helpful for you, check the description of this video for information on that, and send me a message here or wherever you're seeing this to book your own reading. And with that, I bid you farewell. Bye.